this system has made group lessons like a total no-brainer. I mean, I would recommend it to anyone. I have 50 to 75% more of my students are practicing now than did before. And I have 10 to 12 students in every class. I really was struggling hard. How do you then have somebody join in the middle of the year, and what do you do with them? Because now everybody else has progressed to something else. So the way that you've developed things, that, if you've got level 1, level 2, level 3, and somebody can come in and pick up level 1 just like that, and then you've got your more savvy student that they're already at level 3, and then you've got 3-part harmony going on. And like, I had a concert today, and the kids were just, the parents were like, wow, this is amazing. Your lesson plan template, that has been a game changer. This is, to me, the ideal way to teach group lessons.
It's really cool to see how your teaching has kind of evolved, But yeah, if I can just ask you some questions about the program, get your honest feedback about what problems you were experiencing and how it solved them, that kind of thing. You ready to go?
Absolutely, yeah.
Sweet, awesome. So first thing would be, like, out of all the guitar teaching, or I guess music teaching, coaching businesses, coaches, whatever, why specifically did you start working with me? Like, what prompted you to do that?
Well, you really have this spirit of giving, and while I know you're in business to make money, you also are so helpful. And, when we first joined the membership, the whole thing was free. And I was amazed at how much value there was just as a free member. And then I really was struggling hard with teaching guitar, and I was basically doing the same thing every year. And I was, teaching open chords and, just what you say in the group, that I do one finger C and one finger G, and then, like, where do you progress, and how do you then have somebody join in the middle of the year, and what do you do with them? Because now everybody else has progressed to something else. So
that was a big one. I remember that was a big one as well. Like, not being able to take on students during the actual term. Right, because correct me if I'm wrong, you were teaching more in kind of like a linear approach, where, if someone wanted to join at week 5, all of these other students had gained all this knowledge and skills within the first 5 weeks. So you're having to give, like, these extra one-on-ones, or, to get them up to speed, or just not taking them on.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I never wanted to turn anybody away, but it was really a struggle. I would always have to do a couple of private lessons, and then it was always harder for those students. Like, I felt like they never caught up. And the other thing is, this system is so logical. Like, it's actually helped me to think about my guitar playing in a whole new way, because, like, it really opened up a whole new world of understanding for me as far as the theory behind guitar that I had never really realized. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And it seemed like when you joined as well, like, I think maybe you were from one of the free material groups, like the guitar teaching material groups, and maybe you liked the guitar teaching material. I can't really remember actually how you got into the school group, but that's normally how people join.
We connected on Facebook, and you invited me into the group. And at the time, it really was mostly community. And then you just kind of built it up from there. And when I saw that, like I said, I was so frustrated with what I was doing, and I didn't feel like a good teacher. And I am a very good teacher in all other areas. And I was like, I'm not giving my students enough. I'm giving them this one skill. They can play chords. And I was really struggling with what else to teach them. And I was trying to teach tabs. And then the other thing is, when you would start talking about Songster and Guitar Pro and all this, and I was like, okay, I need to know more about what he's doing. So that was kind of when I started going, I need to figure out exactly how he's doing what he's doing, because especially when you started putting some of the songs up, and I was like, how is he getting these songs, these like basic songs?
Yeah. Because it was like, Just for context as well, like you are teaching, it's your own business,
Yes.
right?
And
But you're teaching at a school, right?
I teach at two schools, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
basically rent the room from the after school program, and I
Mm-hmm.
pay them between 10 and 20% depending on how many students I have, and
Mm-hmm.
I keep the rest. And I have 10 to
Yeah,
12 students in every class.
yeah. 10 to 12 students.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine if you're doing it like the older way, how frustrating and overwhelming it would be with 10 to 12 students. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome to have that. Such a large group, really. And you still be able to. Do you feel more confident in your teaching now with managing
So much more
that amount?
confident. First
Yeah.
of all, they're so much easier to manage because they're like watching the other students progress, and they're like, he just leveled up. I need to do the same. And, I have one little boy who is just, I don't know if mom is kind of forcing him to take lessons or what the deal is, or maybe he
Yeah.
just is tired by the end of the day, but he wouldn't do anything last year, like nothing. And this year, he's one of my best players because he's going home and
Wow.
practicing, and that I have probably 50 to 75% more of my students are practicing now than did before, especially in the one class,
Wow.
because they're really inspired because they're watching each other and they're competing and they're doing the level ups, and I feel so much more confident because I always kind of felt like I was floundering, like I'll just pull from here and I'll pull from here. I didn't have a specific system, and now I feel really comfortable that I have a specific system. I love the way you rotate between, the three different kinds of skills, and that's great for my students. I worried at first that it would be hard for them to like go back and forth, but they really like just picked it up right away. So
That's good. Yeah, cool. I just love that kind of variation as well. Like you're always building on those three skills, or the pillars, and they do retain that information if you're reinforcing it correctly in the lessons, which you are. So it just keeps everything fresh as well for me as a teacher. I don't want to do 12 weeks
bored.
of just picking. Yeah, exactly. I think that's like a very important point. It's like you can easily get burnt out as a teacher if you are doing the same things over and over. And I've been there with one-to-ones as well, just doing this, just teaching the same thing, have, a couple different, songs specifically to that technique or something. And it just becomes really exhausting. But I like that rotation. So it just keeps everything fresh for you as a teacher, and then also the students. Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. And like when you joined as well, like definitely you were frustrated and struggling with your balancing the teaching and having a system and everything.
Yeah.
But you really had all the business systems and the studio mastery system, like as I call it, the business systems like the studio policy and that kind of stuff already in place, right? It was really just the teaching. Okay.
To a point.
Yeah.
No, I definitely learned a lot about, the web page and setting things up, and some of the systems that you shared definitely helped me. Your lesson plan template, that has been a game changer because I was not keeping track of my students from week to week, and then I'd be like, what did I do with them last week? And this is so easy to to help me follow. I'm using it for my private student too, that so now I go in there right before I have him, and I'm like, we did this and we did this. It's really, the organization was a big deal because I kind of always, I don't want to say I didn't take it seriously because I did, but I wasn't organized about it, so.
Yeah. That's the biggest unlock, I think, for me as well, was creating systems behind everything within my guitar teaching business, like the business systems, but also the teaching systems. So it's just repeatable. And so I didn't have to I used to spend hours on lesson planning.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous how much time I would, quote unquote waste on lesson planning because I didn't have like a structure, a roadmap, you know, pre-done activities that I can just slot in there. So,
And
yeah, well, that's
love
great.
that about it too, is that I have a path now, so I don't feel like I'm just pulling stuff out of the air. I have an actual path that I'm following. I can fill
Yeah.
in whatever songs I want. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the students have a better understanding now of, like, okay, we're going to spend 3 weeks on this skill, and then we're going to do a song on
Yes.
guitar, then we're going to
Yeah.
spend 3 weeks on this other skill. So
Yeah.
it just, all the way around, it just made things so much more focused, and I feel more confident, and I feel like I know what I'm doing from week to week, which is a big deal.
That's great.
And like you
Yeah.
said,
Love
I'm
that.
not having to spend extra time planning lessons because, maybe I spend an hour a week and bing, bang, boom, I'm all done, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Really cuts down on the time, hey? If you were to say to someone who's like sitting on the fence and they will kind of want to join the program, but maybe they're, haven't tried group lessons before, or they have tried group lessons before and they've had bad experiences with it. They've had students that get left behind, other students get bored. What would you say about, the program and how it solves those problems?
This is, to me, the ideal way to teach group lessons because it's very structured. It's not boring. The kids are constantly learning new skills, and, you're going between those 3 skills and the whole rotation. The songs that you have shared with us and the structure of everything, it just makes it like, to me, that's the way I've always taught. I'm a group lesson person. I am not willing to spend, if I had a studio of 30 students, you're talking 15 hours in a 30-minute lesson, right? So to me, I've always taught group lessons, but this system has made group lessons like a total no-brainer. I mean, I would recommend it to anyone because it's specifically geared for group lessons, and the rotation, the ease of practicing, or the ease of teaching rather, the confidence I feel teaching the group lessons at this point. And then I love that my students watch each other and they're constantly in competition. I've got one group of 10 boys. It's all boys. And they're like, oh, look what he's doing. And they're very, very focused on making sure that they learn those songs. And I think that's ideal. And then the other part of it is, as guitar players, how often do we play by ourselves, And so I think that it's a really good skill as a guitar player to be able to play with a group of people because, otherwise you don't get that experience. And I think, and the way that you've developed things that, if you've got level 1, level 2, level 3, and somebody can come in and pick up level 1 just like that. And then you've got your more savvy student that they're already at level 3. And then you've got 3-part harmony going on. And like I had a concert today and the kids were just, the parents were like, wow, this is amazing,
That's awesome. That's so cool. And like, because there's a lot of information and stigma around group lessons or teaching more than one-to-one. And, you see people saying, one-to-one is the gold standard. Group lessons are of a lower quality, or they're low quality. It's just for fun, right? They're not actually getting a lot of results through there. How would you say, what we work together and what's in the program helps kind of like dissolve that kind of belief about group lessons? I mean, you've already touched on it really, but any last words about someone that's saying that group lessons is low quality?
My lessons with this program are better than they've ever been before. And I would say to you that they've always learned skills, but the amount of skills that my students, like, I wish I could go back in time and record every single one, or at least like the first month of lessons and what they're doing now, because it's I would say they're learning easily as much as private students, because the other thing is, like, I'm walking around able, because most of my classes are not me standing up there and teaching now. Most of my classes they are practicing the whole time they're in there, and I'm walking around and I'm able to actually give individual attention instead of standing up and, showing one skill to the whole group. Charlie may be working on a level 3, and Harry may be working on a level 1 thing, and I'm able to walk around, and then I can also have them help each other. Like, I see them all the time. Hey, I'm doing this. Can you help me with that? So I feel like skill level wise, I think it has really upped the skill of my students.
That's great. That's great. I found that too. Like, making the switch, it really was night and day. Obviously, I was scared about what I've heard about group lessons. How am I going to balance the skill levels, especially if they're at different skill levels? But that's a huge thing that a lot of people don't talk about when they, I guess, like, in this system as well. Like, I'm glad you touched on it. How you're not babying them.
No.
Like, even if you're a teenage student, right? When I was doing one-to-one lessons, they'd be like, oh, how do I play this? Oh, do I have to do that? Blah, 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 blah. Now it's like, I can give them instruction, right? As a group, right? And then give them the action steps or the task that they need to complete, exactly how they need to do it, and get up those level up rules slideshow and be like, this is what I'm looking for. Okay, this is what you want to keep in your mind when you're doing hammer-ons or bends. And let's get started. Let's try and get up to, let's try and finish the first 8 bars or whatever they're on, and they'll just do it. They'll just do it. Right. And they see other students around them that are further ahead, and that pushes them further to complete the song as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you see this happening? Because oh, sorry, you go.
No, they're taking on leadership roles. They are taking on ownership of their learning, which is a huge deal. You know, and even what I was saying before, the one little boy who, like, didn't want to do anything ever, and he's like flipping around on his chair and all the things, and now, like, and I've had that experience with several of my students that just, they have taken ownership of their learning, and they're going home and they're looking up music on their own, and and then sometimes you've got one who's just not as motivated, but the kids that are motivated are not bored because I'm spending time with that one kid who's not motivated or maybe just doesn't get it or whatever. So I think all the way around, like, it has really allowed my students to take these leadership roles, take ownership of their learning, be able to kind of organize for themselves, because they bring their binders, and if they don't have their binders, I don't let them test for the level up.
Oh, okay. That's a good incentive to bring your binder.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. That's a big one as well. Like, the increase in students going home and practicing. Not just practicing what I have given them, but searching up new songs by themselves because they know where to get it. And the other students are doing that as well. And they come in, and then when they're warming up, they don't even say that, oh, I learned this new song. They'll just launch into it. They'll put head down and just like launch into it, and then kind of like look for any people looking at them. And I'm like, dang, Haley, that is so good. That's awesome. Yeah. Could you, just lastly as well, because you do see it a lot as well. You say some guitar teachers or music teachers, they say group lessons only for young kids. What would you say about that? Like, with the system that you're using now, could you see it working for, ages 9 to 18 or even adults?
Absolutely. I'm actually in the process of considering, which I've never considered before, adding a middle school class, because I now feel like, that's a level up, right? And I've always taught elementary, so figured 11 is the top age. So now it would be 12, 13, 14-year-old kids. And I now feel like I have a way to advance them, whereas I didn't feel like that before. Like I didn't feel comfortable or confident being able to do that. I could say anybody. I mean, it has taught me so much, like, about, because I've always been a very basic, like, chords only. I do a little bit with tabs, but it really has taught me a lot about teaching the guitar, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. Awesome. Well, thanks for the kind words and everything. Absolutely. And I'm glad that you got a lot of value out of the program and everything. Yeah. But yeah, awesome.